What are you taking a look at?
Well, guys, about 2 weeks ago, a short seller known for exposing corporate fraud dropped this little cryptic message on Twitter, quote, "Soon we will release a report on what we strongly suspect to be the largest corporate fraud in history." And they did kind of deliver. Hindenburg Research, funny we were just talking about the balloons, posted a 100-page detailed report along with a lengthy Twitter thread claiming that one of the richest men on the entire planet was actually a massive fraud using a network of shell companies to manipulate the valuation of his corporate empire stock and to falsify his balance sheets. The fallout has been swift and it has been dramatic, erasing $100 billion in corporate value in just a matter of days and shaking the economy of an entire nation. All right, so here are the details. Gautam Adani is not only the richest man in India, but in all of Asia. His rise was intertwined with the rise of Prime Minister Modi. Both hailed from the Indian state of Gujarat. Adani guaranteed Modi's longtime loyalty when he broke from the Indian business community consensus and defended Modi over the deadly anti-Muslim riots which unfolded under Modi's watch. As he rose to power, Adani also rose to vast wealth, with enterprises deeply intertwined with and critical to the Indian state. Now, today, Adani's empire spans coal, green energy, ports, airports, and a whole lot more. He is, in large part, the industrialist building the nation state that Modi envisions. The state backs him, and he backs the state. Now, this has led to the accumulation of vast wealth on the scale of household name titans, people like Bezos, Musk, and Gates. But according to Hindenburg Research, this fantastic journey to world dominance is being propped up by fakery and outright fraud. Essentially, they claim that Adani used dozens of shell companies, most in the notorious tax haven of Mauritius, to pump up their stock price and launder their balance sheets, inflating asset prices so that their financial health would appear much better than it actually is. Many of these shell companies' seemingly only business was holding Adani stock. As one former shell company employee put it, quote, "I think this stock is definitely held by the Adani Group because nobody else would want to buy it. As any investor, why would you invest with the Adani Group? You know the stock is inflated and they cannot be trusted. And looking at the business, it is a house of cards. It's all fueled on debt. And if the Modi government goes out of power, maybe the whole thing comes crashing down." This phony picture of financial health and inflated stock prices allowed Adani to borrow vast amounts of money, loading all of their companies up with debt and further imperiling their financial health, but also enabling them to pursue some of those big infrastructure projects to build up the Indian economy. Hindenburg's report reveals not only details of those alleged crimes, but also of the cover-up. The shell businesses were set up with phony websites describing businesses that are nonsensical. They use stock photos. Many of them had no employees. The Adani corporate empire is closely controlled by family members, which of course would be a good way to keep prying outside eyes from raising objections to potential fraud. Financial officers of the conglomerate come and go in rapid succession. Hindenburg also documents a series of sketchy characters with prior history of stock manipulation and fraud who are involved in this whole enterprise. And the outside auditors who would be responsible for revealing these schemes are wildly inexperienced and appear wholly unable to actually audit complex enterprises. So there you go. A global empire intertwined with the Indian state, pumped up by fake stock prices, balance sheet manipulation, and allowed to get away with it due to their symbiotic relationship with the Indian government. Hindenburg itself has a pretty good track record of exposing real fraud. For example, they exposed lies at electric truck maker Nikola, which eventually led to the CEO of that company being found guilty of fraud. But as we weigh the merit of these allegations, it's of course important to keep in mind Hindenburg is ultimately a short seller. Their entire business model does rely on leveling allegations of fraud and then profiting off of the resulting stock decline in value. So, although they do have a very good track record, they are also not a disinterested party. Just want to put that out there. As for Adani, in their response, they leaned heavily into Indian nationalism. They claimed Hindenburg's research was an attack on the Indian state itself, but they actually answered few of the substantive questions which were raised. They do, though, fully deny any wrongdoing. The fallout from this report has been truly astonishing. Adani companies plummeted in the stock market. They lost $100 billion in value in a single week. Adani's fortune has similarly collapsed. He's estimated to have lost half his net worth since the report's release. It's been such a catastrophe that he actually had to abruptly pull a $2.5 billion stock sale, saying it would not be morally correct to go through with it at this time. The collapse in the company's stock price meant that any investor in the new stock sale would be immediately signing up for a big loss. Economist Adam Tooze recently spoke about the likely fallout in India and how this is all being interpreted by the domestic audience. Here's what he had to say.
there's really an element of culture clash here. I mean, there aren't many players in the Indian financial markets who imagine that the value of the Adani Group is determined in a conventionally free and fair way, because people aren't naive about the way in which India's political economy operates. And the sophisticated rationale for what's going on in India is that Indian financial investors know that it is indeed the impunity, if you like, the ability of the Adani Group to, if necessary, produce rather high valuations of its assets to sustain large amounts of credit, that is part of their business plan. And with the backing that they enjoy in political circles, they are not just too big to fail, but essentially identified with the Modiite project. So long as that is hegemonic in Indian politics, these businesses cannot fail. So there is, in fact, very little risk that you won't get paid back. And there is some prospect, and in fact, no prospect any other way, of this major infrastructure in India actually getting built, because they are the last resort, if you like, of the Indian state machine. And to that extent, no harm, no foul.
Look, to his point, it'd be one thing if this was just an India-only story. State-aligned enterprise propped up by state-affiliated capital and state subsidies. It's basically a tale as old as time. But while the reverberations will be felt most acutely in India, no doubt, we're talking about sophisticated global investors and titanic banks who were snookered by the fake stock prices and rigged balance sheets, allegedly, who forked over gigantic loans to fund this conglomerate based on alleged fraud, which, taken together, as Hindenburg puts it, would amount to the largest corporate con in history. Citigroup, Credit Suisse, Barclays, and more, all scrambling to figure out what their exposure is on this whole house of cards. Yet another illustration of how easy it is, apparently, to rig the game, pull the wool over the eyes of the supposedly most brilliant, sophisticated people in the world. The scam economy with a massive global reach. And it's funny because he's not a household name. Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.